Alright everybody, welcome to your 13th AngularJS tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be working more on routes in AngularJS. Now in the last tutorial we discussed about how AngularJS routes are working and what you need to do to set up your first AngularJS route. And we do that inside the configuration of our app, which in this case is main app, and we specify it with ng app. So here's my controller file, and I've already defined app inside my controller.js, and dependency is the ng route which we need. So now let's quickly say app.config, and what I want to do is I'll just provide an anonymous function here with the argument as route provider, and this thing comes from this dependency. So if you remove this right here, then this code would not work because this variable comes from this thing. Alright, so now what we have to do is just say route provider when the page is this, then what should be displayed, our code here. Then when the page is, let's say, hello user, then what should be displayed, and all that stuff. So let's just keep it to otherwise. Otherwise is the default whenever there's no match found in above when statements. So it's just like if you have done switch loop, switch conditional statement, the otherwise clause is just like the default one we have in the switch one. So this is kind of a switch statement only. So otherwise I'll just write redirect to home page. Alright, so now in the last tutorial what we discussed about is we just created a template and supplied some bunch of text, some HTML and all that. So when you are working on a very large site that has a lot of information and a lot of content to show to users, you cannot just simply write everything in a mess in one single line. So what we want to do is we would like to separate out all the contents in different file, and to do that we have something called template URL. Now template URL would technically accept a value like page.html here, and in the same directory launch a AJAX request to this particular page, and then feed the content inside our ng view right here. So now you have noticed that I'm working in C XAMPP htdocs AngularJS instead of my desktop folder, and not the desktop one, instead of my directory where I had all the tutorials, AngularJS, Chrome and all that stuff together, because in working with template URL, Angular needs to do a request, an AJAX request to this page, and as you know that AJAX requests are not permitted under file protocol, so we need a local host to work with. Alright, so now let's quickly create a new page, and on this new page what you wanna take care of is that don't include that traditional tagging and all that stuff. So this should not be included. Simply go ahead and write your output you want to display, and I'll just save it as page.html. And the reason is because Angular, which will fetch this page, take out all the content as it is, and would feed inside this div. So if you include like doctype HTML, HTML head and body and all that stuff, then Angular would not care and just pick up all the stuff and would insert inside this div, and then the browser would have problems to parse out the code. Alright, so now we have got the page.html setup. Let's say template URL hello.html, let's just quickly create that as well, hello user, and otherwise we are good to go. Alright, so here's my browser window, and let's reload this, and you see hello world, because on the page one we have got hello world as the content. So now Alright, so you could actually create a hyperlink here as well, and you could just say that go to hello user, say hi, anything would go, and I'll just reload this, and we have got this hyperlink here. And when I click on this, you see that the hash changes and so does the content. So if I take a closer look here for you guys to understand it better, then you see that this is the ng view which was initially on our 13.html page right here. So this is the ng view, and Angular automatically adds a ng-scope class to it, and inside this we have got all the stuff fetched from different documents in Angular. And if I go to network and reload this page, then you see that right here you can see here, yeah, this thing. So you see that this request, this Ajax request, is made by some Angular, this file here, because of our routes here set up in the controller.js. So Angular needs to Ajax request the files you want to include inside your page. So make sure that the files are under a same file tree, because most of the modern browsers do not allow cross-site Ajax request, because that poses a kind of security vulnerability to all of that browsers. So in this tutorial what we learned about is just introduction to this template URL thing, which allows you to clean up your code and helps you to organize your code, everything. And yeah, one more thing. So let's say if you are using template here as well. So if I say this is template, and now your guess is what would happen. Now this time it would load only the template and not the template URL. So if I go back to the page and reload this, then alright, okay, I need to put a comma here, and now let's reload this, and you see that it just loads this is a template. And what if I move it down? So even if I move it down, then the order of the template and template URL does not change. That is, the template one is located first in the Angular and then is the template URL, but both won't execute together. If template is specified, then template URL won't be loaded. So just make sure of that thing, because if you are using like template URL and template as this, then obviously your code won't work, or basically it would, but it would just show a blank output. So that's all for this tutorial, and we'll be discussing more about routing in AngularJS, and basically I'm interested in teaching you guys about conditional routing. So maybe in the next coming tutorials we'll be discussing about that. Let's say if there's a login page here and I don't want a direct access of the user to the login page, then how do I check with if conditions? Not technically if, but we would be similar, doing something similar like that. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you then next time. Take care and thank you for watching.